Hey everyone, welcome back to Inside the Philippines. Today's story comes from Terry, a retired Aussie thought he'd finally found peace, sunshine, simple living, and a sweet, devoted Filipina who called him her future. But behind the smiles, something wasn't right. Her phone was always hidden. Her brother didn't like him, and the more money he gave, the more things stopped adding up. He thought he was building a life together. Turns out he was just funding someone else's. Let's get into it. Here's Terry's story in his own words. G'day, mate. Figured I'd finally write this out proper. Maybe it'll help get it out of my head. Not really the sort of thing you talk about down the pub. Not unless you want blokes snickering behind your back. But if it helps someone else from going through the same mess, then fair enough. I came to the Philippines about a year and a half ago. Didn't plan to stay long. Just needed a break, you know? After my wife passed. Cancer. Bloody cruel thing. I went from 20 years of noise and love and real life to this dead quiet house in the suburbs. You can only mow the lawn and watch TV for so long before the walls start closing in. I've got 2 kids, both grown. They check in now and then, but they've got their own stuff. Can't blame them. Still, I'd be lying if I said the loneliness didn't get to me, especially around dinner time. Silence has a way of making you hear every single ache in your chest. Anyway, one night I was watching some bloke on YouTube, a guy who moved to Dumaguete, looked peaceful, smiles everywhere, bit of sun. And the cost of living, mate, I did the math, figured I could stretch my super a good long way, booked a one-way ticket, no big plan. Just wanted to breathe again. When I landed, first thing that hit me was the heat, like walking into a bloody sauna. But the people were warm too, not just the weather. Everyone smiling, calling me sir, asking if I needed help. Took me 2 days to get used to tricycles and the way they drive here, which is to say, not at all, but it grew on me. I rented this small place just outside Dumaguete proper. 1 bedroom, creaky fan, and a toilet that sounded like it was gasping for life. But it had a balcony, and from there I could hear the roosters in the morning and the kids playing after school. Felt more alive than anything I'd heard back in Brissy in years. Didn't come looking for love, I swear to that. Wasn't chasing bar girls or pretending I was 25 again. I just wanted a place where I could eat, sleep, maybe have someone to talk to who didn't look at me like I was already fading. This is how it all started. There was this cafe about 5 minutes from my flat. Quiet little spot tucked behind a laundry shop. I'd go there most mornings for a long black and some toast. Staff were always polite, but one of them stood out right from the start. Joy. Late 20s maybe. Small frame, dark eyes, tied her hair back in a ponytail and wore that apron like it was armour. Not flashy, not flirty, just gentle. When she smiled, it wasn't one of those customer service smiles either. It felt real, like she saw you, like you mattered. After a few visits, she started sitting with me during her breaks, asked about Australia, said she liked my accent. I told her it was just nasal and lazy. She laughed, said it was strong. Not sure if that was a compliment, but I took it. She told me about her life, slowly, said she was helping raise her younger sister. Their mum was sick in Bayawan, and her older brother, Danilo, I think she said, had just moved back in to help them get on their feet. Joy said she was the one working to keep the lights on most weeks. I remember the first time she brought me banana bread, free of charge. Extra from the kitchen, she said, but she placed it on a napkin like it was gold. Small thing, but it hit me. I'd forgotten what that felt like. Someone doing something just to be kind. One day she asked if I'd ever been married. I said, yeah, once, for 22 years. She passed 4 years ago. Joy got quiet, Said her father died too. Said she knew that kind of silence, the kind that comes after someone who filled up your world suddenly isn't there. After that, things shifted. She started asking if I'd eaten. She'd packed me a bit of rice and adobo when I left. Said she made too much. It became a kind of routine. Coffee in the morning, little chats, a warm smile, something to look forward to. And I'd be lying if I said it didn't feel good. At first, I thought, don't be stupid, Tez. She's younger, has her whole life ahead of her. You're just some old bloke passing through. But the way she looked at me, it didn't feel like pity. It felt like she saw something in me I'd forgotten was there. And so one morning, I asked if she wanted to have lunch, not as a customer, but just as two people. She hesitated, smiled, then said yes. That was the beginning of everything. And the beginning of the end too, but I didn't know that yet. We went for lunch on her day off, nothing fancy. Little barbecue place near the road, plastic chairs, dogs sleeping under the tables. I told her she could order whatever she wanted. She still picked the cheapest thing on the menu and drank water instead of soda. That should have told me something right there. Or maybe it told me exactly what she wanted me to see. She talked more that day, about how hard it was being the eldest, about sending money home every payday, about how her brother Danilo helped with big decisions and how she trusted him completely. She kept saying, family first, like it was stitched into her bones. After that, we started seeing each other properly, not rushing anything. She'd come over in the evenings, cook something simple, sit beside me on the couch, and watch whatever was on TV. Sometimes we wouldn't even talk much. Just being there felt enough. I didn't push for more. Truth is, I was terrified of ruining it. I hadn't felt that kind of calm in years. The first time money came up, it felt harmless. Her phone had cracked, screen barely working. She showed me like it was embarrassing. I told her not to worry and took her to the mall the next day. Bought her a new one. 9,000 pesos. She hugged me like I handed her a winning lottery ticket. A week later, her mum needed medication. Blood pressure, she said. Showed me a photo of a prescription. 12,000 pesos. I didn't even think twice. Then her sister's school fees. 18,000 pesos. She cried when I transferred it. Said no one had ever helped her like that before. That's how it gets you. Not with one big ask. With 100 small ones that make you feel like a decent human being. I started paying her rent too. 15,000 pesos a month. She said it helped her sleep at night knowing she wouldn't get kicked out. Said she could focus on us. She started calling me her future. Said maybe one day we could build something together. Not rich, just quiet. I remember sitting on the balcony one night, her head on my shoulder, thinking how strange life is. 40 years swinging hammers, climbing scaffolds, dealing with shouting bosses, and here I was, halfway across the world, feeling needed again. If I'm honest, that's when I stopped questioning things. That's when I stopped being careful. One evening, over fried tilapia and a couple of San Migs, Joy mentioned her brother was coming to Dumaguete, Danilo. She said he was helping manage some land they still had in Bayawan. Nothing developed yet, just family property, but she spoke about it like it was something special. An inheritance of sorts. She asked if I'd like to meet him. Said it'd mean a lot to her. I figured, sure, might as well get to know the bloke if he's part of the picture. We met at a small carinderia not far from the pier. I showed up first. Sweaty plastic chairs, fluorescent light buzzing overhead. When they walked in, Joy gave me a little wave, but Danilo didn't even crack a smile. He was stocky, maybe early 40s, short hair, collared shirt tucked in too tight. looked me up and down like I was a stray dog sniffing around his yard. I stood up, offered a handshake. He gave me one of those quick, limp ones. Didn't say much. Joy did all the talking. I tried to break the ice. Told a dumb story about my first tricycle ride, how I nearly fell out the side when it turned. Joy laughed. Danilo didn't. When I put my hand lightly on Joy's back, just casually, nothing rude, I saw his jaw tighten. Not a flinch. Just that controlled kind of anger, the kind men hold when they want you to know they don't like you. I chalked it up to overprotective brother vibes. Figured he didn't trust foreigners. Maybe he'd seen other guys come through, make promises, disappear. Later that night, I asked Joy if he was always like that. She smiled weakly and said, "He just wants the best for me." Looking back, that wasn't a warning bell. That was a bloody siren. But I was already in deep, wasn't I? Over the next few weeks, she started bringing up this idea of building a house. Said Danilo had connections, knew labourers, knew how to get things done cheap. If we bought a bit of land now, we could start small, build up. She didn't beg, just laid it out like a future we could build together. And I wanted to believe it. A few days after meeting Danilo, Joy came over with a folded up paper tucked into her bag. She spread it out on the kitchen table like it was something sacred. It was a rough sketch of a lot. 300 square metres, she said, out in Bayawan, near her family. Still clean title, she told me. No trouble, very good location, mango trees, and near the road. I'll admit it stirred something in me. The idea of building a little home, something simple and quiet, away from the world. She said we could put up a nipa hut first, then add to it little by little. She even pointed to a corner of the sketch and said, "This can be our garden." She told me her brother could manage it all. He had the contacts, the labourers. Said if we moved fast, the seller would let it go for 400,000 pesos. I wired the money to Danilo's account that week. Then came the requests for materials. 250,000 pesos for concrete and hollow blocks. A few weeks later, another 200,000 pesos for labour, then roofing. 160,000 pesos, another 300,000 pesos to finish the walls and interiors. It kept coming in waves, always with photos to go with the requests, bags of cement, a few guys smiling with shovels, what looked like rebar sticking out of the ground. I asked if I could visit the site just to see how it was shaping up. She always had a reason why it wasn't a good idea. One time it was flooded, another time the workers were not comfortable with foreigners watching. She said it made them nervous, like they were being checked on. I didn't argue. Not because I believed every word, but because I wanted to believe the bigger picture. That we were building something together. That all this money, all this trust, was laying the foundation for a new life. At that point, I'd put in well over 1 million pesos, but it didn't feel like a loss. It felt like momentum, like progress. Like finally, after years of standing still, my life was moving forward again. I didn't see the cracks yet, or maybe I did, and I just told myself they were part of the build. Things started to change around the 5-month mark. Little things at first, small enough that you question whether you're imagining it. Joy stopped staying over as much. Said her sister was struggling with mental pressure, whatever that meant, and needed her at night. I didn't push back, just nodded. Figured family came first. But the space between us started to stretch. Her phone, once left on the table without a thought, was now always in her hand. She'd flip its screen down the moment I glanced in its direction. I noticed she started stepping outside to take calls, speaking fast in Ilongo, her tone tense, laughing sometimes, but never loud enough for me to catch any details. One night I caught the name Kuya Dan flash across her screen. I asked if it was her brother. She nodded quick, like the question bothered her. Said he was asking about cement prices. She didn't offer more, and I didn't press. But something about the way she looked at me afterward, like she was watching me for a reaction, stayed with me longer than it should have. There were other signs too. New clothes I hadn't seen her wear before. A new necklace, gold with a little heart pendant that she said her sister gave her. Right, her sister, who, supposedly, couldn't afford school fees 6 months ago. Then came another big request. 300,000 pesos to fix a title issue on the land. Some paperwork mess, she said. Needed a fixer to deal with it fast, or the project might stall. She looked at me like she hated even asking, said, "If you can't, it's okay, baby. I understand. I just don't want all our efforts to go to waste." She used the word "our" like it was a charm, and it worked. I wired the money the next day. At this point, I was in for over 2 million pesos. That's more than 50 grand Aussie. Every last bit from my savings, scraped together from decades of hard work and sacrifice. And yet, I still hadn't seen a single brick of that house. Some nights, sitting alone in that little flat, I'd find myself staring out at the streetlight flickering outside, wondering. But then she'd text something sweet. "I miss you, babe." And I'd let it go. I told myself, "You're just being paranoid, mate. You're not some jealous teenager." But deep down, I knew something was off. I just didn't know how off. Not yet. It was a Thursday when she told me she had to go back to Bayawan. Said her mother had taken a turn and the sister was overwhelmed. "Only for 2 or 3 days, baby," she promised, squeezing my hand. "I'll message you every night." She left a toothbrush at my place. Some clothes in the drawer, even cooked me sinigang before she packed. Told me not to worry, that she'd be back before I missed her. Kissed me on the cheek and rode off on the scooter I bought her, yellow helmet bobbing down the road. I watched her disappear around the corner. That was the last time I saw her. At first I didn't panic. She messaged that night, just one line. "Ma, still in hospital. Very tired. I love you." Next day, nothing. Then the day after that, her phone was off. No reply, no activity, just silence. By day 4, something snapped in me. I went straight to the bus terminal and got on the first ride to Bayawan. 4 hours of bouncing along narrow roads, sweating through my shirt, gut twisting tighter with every kilometre. I had no clear address, just one she'd scribbled months ago on the back of a grocery receipt when talking about her family home. When I got there, the barangay captain said no Joy lived there. Never had. I showed a photo. He squinted and shrugged, said, "Di ko siya kilala, baka hindi dito talaga." Then, as I stood there looking like a lost idiot, with my hands on my hips, a tricycle driver nearby said something that caught my ear. "Ah, si Joy? Yung asawa ni Dan?" I turned. "Asawa?" I asked. "As in wife?" The driver nodded casually. "Oh, yung Danilo, mag-asawa yun. Tagal na." I stood there frozen. That tightness in my chest turned cold. I didn't say a word. Just thanked him, got back in the van, and rode back to Dumaguete in silence. My mind was racing. Danilo, her brother, all the money I'd sent to his account, the way he looked at me, the anger when I touched her shoulder, the constant excuses, the secrecy, the way she never let me visit the land. It wasn't just a scam. It was a bloody performance. And I'd paid top dollar for front row seats. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat out on the balcony in that plastic chair, the same one she used to sit in, sipping one cold beer after another while the street dogs barked in the distance. My thoughts kept circling the same drain. Every hug, every quiet moment, every time she'd called me babe, like it meant something. I kept replaying the way Danilo looked at me the day we met. Not like a protective brother, more like a man watching someone move in on his wife. And now I knew why. By sunrise, I was shaking from more than just the booze. I didn't want revenge, but I needed answers. I went straight to the cafe where we first met, hoping for something, a sign, a message, even just confirmation that she still existed and hadn't vanished into thin air. I asked the young waitress behind the counter if Joy had been around. She didn't meet my eyes. Said Joy didn't work there anymore. That was all she gave me. No explanation, no smile, just discomfort. Like she knew something but didn't want to be involved. I walked around Dumaguete after that, half lost, half looking. I didn't know what I expected to find. Then, as I was cutting through a back street near the market, I saw them. Joy and Danilo, just walking like any normal couple, right out in the open. She carried a basket of vegetables like they'd just done the groceries, and he walked beside her, close, one hand resting on the small of her back. They weren't hiding. That's what hit me. They weren't scared of being seen. I followed them, staying just far enough behind to not be noticed. Through the market, past the fruit stalls, around a corner to a run-down boarding house with a sagging metal gate. They went inside like it was home. That was the moment I knew for certain they weren't pretending anymore because they didn't have to. They'd already taken what they came for. I waited a few minutes, heart thudding like a jackhammer, then walked up and knocked on the gate. Not polite, firm. The way you knock when you already know the answer but need to hear it spoken. Joy opened the door. Her face went white the second she saw me. For a moment she looked like she might faint. Danilo stepped up behind her, shirtless, calm, like he'd been expecting this. No bluffing now, no script to follow. I didn't yell. I just said it. So, this is your brother? She didn't answer. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. Danilo moved forward, trying to close the gate, but I stuck my foot in before he could. My voice was steady, but inside I was shaking. You lied to me, I said. You both did. Danilo locked eyes with me and said quietly, You need to leave. Like I was the intruder, like I was the one who had crossed a line. I turned to Joy, who looked like she wanted to disappear into the concrete. Was any of it real? I asked. Or was I just your paycheck the whole time? She finally spoke, just above a whisper. I'm sorry, Terry. I didn't mean... But Danilo cut her off before she could finish. She's my wife, he said. Back off. That word, wife, hit like a steel beam. I didn't say anything after that. There was nothing left to say. I stepped back slowly as Danilo closed the gate in my face. And just like that, it was over. 6 months, 2 million pesos, and what felt like a new life, all shut behind a rusted gate with 2 people who never loved me, only needed me. I walked home in a daze that afternoon, not really seeing anything around me. The tricycles honking, the school kids running down the footpath, the smell of grilled chicken from the side stalls. It all just faded into background noise. My legs moved, but my head felt miles away. When I got back to the flat, I didn't even take off my shoes. I just sat there on the edge of the bed, staring at the floor like it owed me an explanation. That night I didn't eat, didn't drink, didn't even turn the fan on, though the air was thick and sticky. I just sat in the dark, letting it all sink in. 2 million pesos, gone. That's over 50 grand back home. My entire retirement buffer, the safety net I'd worked for decades to build. I'd handed it over, piece by piece, smiling like a fool, thinking I was helping build a future. Turns out I was just helping them build theirs, and I wasn't even going to be in it. But it wasn't just the money. That's what people who've never been through something like this don't understand. Losing the cash hurts, sure. It stings deep. But the real wound is trust. It's the mornings I woke up and saw her curl next to me and thought, maybe this time I got it right. It's the way she held my hand in public, leaned her head on my shoulder like she belonged there, asked me to choose paint colours for a house I'd never see. And the worst part? The part I still can't shake. I wasn't even angry at her, not at first. I was angry at myself, for wanting it so badly that I ignored every sign, for mistaking politeness for love, for thinking I was too smart, too seasoned, too careful to get played. Over the next few weeks, I kept to myself, didn't go back to the cafe, didn't walk the boulevard. I even started thinking about packing up and going home, cutting my losses and chalking it up to a hard lesson. But one night I ended up at a bar near the pier. Quiet place. Mostly old expats like me sitting with their heads down. I got talking to a bloke from the UK, Alan, I think his name was, and after a few drinks I told him what happened. He didn't even flinch, just nodded slowly and said, "Yeah, mate, me too." Turns out there were more of us than I thought. Some lost more, some lost less. But all of us had one thing in common. We thought we were the exception. I stayed. Still in Dumaguete, still in the same flat. I didn't go back to Australia. Too proud, maybe. Too stubborn. Or maybe I just didn't want to end it all with a loss. I don't look at women the same way now. I don't smile as easy. I count every peso twice. Not just when I spend it, when I give it too. Joy and Danilo got what they wanted. A house, probably. A scooter. A future they built with my money. I imagine they're still together, still running the same script on some other bloke. Maybe one who's even more lonely than I was? If you're watching this and a sweet girl tells you her brother doesn't like you, just make damn sure it's not because you're sleeping with his wife. Thanks for watching, and thanks to Terry for sharing a story that couldn't have been easy to tell. If his experience made you think or reminded you of something you've seen or lived through, leave a comment below. These stories matter, and sometimes hearing yours can make all the difference for someone else. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stick around. We've got more true stories coming from expats and locals navigating love, loss, and everything in between inside the Philippines. We'll see you in the next one.